non-stop disruption, constant disruption in the 2020s. I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed this, but we went from fires to pandemics to wars to disasters. So it's been non-stop disruption. We're seeing at the moment inflation. We're seeing at the moment fuel and energy costs going through the roof. We're seeing supply chains getting broken down. So massive amounts of disruption going on in the world. But here's the thing. The thing is that entrepreneurial people and entrepreneurial minds tend to thrive when there's disruption. If you imagine if there's no disruption for 10 years, what happens is that all of the cookies get caught in one big couple of cookie jars, and all of those assets sit nicely in big company balance sheets, and everything is kind of organized around some existing ways of doing things. Disruption comes along, and it's kind of like shaking up that cookie jar, taking off the lid and scattering all those cookies all over the table. And suddenly there's massive crumbs and opportunities for entrepreneurs. When I say crumbs, I mean multi-million-dollar opportunities that come busting out of this situation. So when disruption happens, we change the way that we live and work, we change the way that we think, we start questioning how we could do things differently. And that means that there's huge entrepreneurial opportunities. So disruption isn't just happening to you, it's happening to all the companies in the economy. And essentially it's a reorganization from the status quo to the innovators and the entrepreneurs, right? So it's a great time. And it's no surprise that some of the world's best entrepreneurs built their fortunes off the back of massive disruption. Here's some fundamental key ideas. Fundamental key ideas is there's more money in the economy than ever before. The governments of the world have printed billions or hundreds of billions and pumped it into the economy. So there's more money and liquidity flowing around than ever before. In fact, inflation, literally the definition of inflation is too much money looking for too few products and services. That's the definition. So it means there's a lot of money going on in the economy at the moment. There's also more talent than ever before. So we used to have to hire people who could get to the office at 9 a.m. Now we can have people who are anywhere in the world come and work in our companies. There's also new markets. We used to sell to people who were about 10, 20 miles away from our front door. And now we can sell to people who are anywhere in the world as well. And then the problems that people face, obviously entrepreneurs exist to solve meaningful problems. So we've got the opportunity that we have more problems than ever before or for a long time. So lots of people have been disrupted, and that creates problems, which creates opportunities. Now, the bigger picture here is that we're going through a massive shift, very similar to when the agricultural age turned into the industrial age. So in the agricultural age, we had the primary assets that business owners had, or wealthy people had. They had fertile land, livestock, and crops. And then you plugged in some people, and the people harvested the land and looked after the animals. And then essentially whoever owned that land was the wealthiest person in that particular time. And it would be hard to imagine, if you're a big landowner, that actually you'd be better off having a very small piece of land with a factory on it and creating a means of production. And only a few short years later, the industrial age kicked off, and essentially it didn't matter how much land you had, it mattered how many factories you had. So it was all about the ability to build a factory, the ability to put together a process for putting together products and services. And it really didn't matter about the land. The land was kind of like we had tractors, and the tractors could do the work of 100 people. So the people came off the land and they came into the factories. And the new wealthiest people, they had factories, they had machinery, they had materials. However, around the year 2000, something really weird started happening. And you would go into a coffee shop and you'd see someone sitting on a laptop, and they'd be doing their work, and they'd be with their little business cards, doing things, firing off some emails. And that interesting person, if you ask them, what do you do? They'd say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm building my own business. I own the means of production, which is my own business. And I also work in my own business. So I'm building my own business. And so I'm working and owning all in one, right? So I'm this entrepreneurial person. I'm a different kind of person. And we saw this, and people thought, gee, that's really weird. I've never really thought about this idea of being an entrepreneur. So something big happened around the 2010s, where there was an entrepreneur revolution that came out. And the new assets that people own today is intellectual property, media, data, and technology. So those are the big assets. So it's no longer factories, machineries, and material. It's intellectual property, media, data, and technology. Those are the big things. So the real disruption that's happening is there's a great wave moving us from the industrial age to the entrepreneurial age. Now, here's the thing. Some people are surfing the wave and some people are getting dumped by the wave. So right now, you're going to see some people who are absolutely furious that life has been tipped on its head and that things are difficult, and they're trying to put things back the way they were, and they're furiously trying to get things back to the status quo. And there are other people who are saying, you know what, things are not going to go back to the status quo. We are now going through a massive shift. We need to start surfing this wave, right? So we got to paddle hard and get the business. We got to work hard building something that's going to float in this particular time. We got to build our own surfboard so that we can be surfing these waves. So essentially, we've got this big transformation. Some people are on the bike, right, riding it, flying ahead. Some people are running as hard as they can. The difference is this kind of use of technology, right? Everyone feels that they're working hard right now. The person on the bike feels they're pedaling really hard. The person running feels like they're running really hard. And there's this huge difference. If you're on the bike, it means you're leveraging technology, intellectual property, media data, software, all of those types of things. You're leveraging that stuff. If you're working hard running, you're trading your time for money. You're competing on price. You're doing jobs for people, right? And you're essentially just being a service provider in a massive sea of service providers and commoditized global markets. And you're not building a brand. You're not building a business that's right for the times that we're in. And all of that begins when you adopt the persona of becoming a key person of influence. You must build your personal brand. This is your surfboard. If you want to surf those waves, your personal brand, that being a key person of influence, that's where it's at. So the key person of influence brand is essentially the idea that if you've got your own little marketplace in the times that we're in, let's say you've got 5,000 or 10,000 people following along with what you do, they see you as a special niche, nuanced provider. They want to work with you. That means that you're always in demand. You've always got high demand, and you've got limited supply of who you are. So therefore your value goes up, right? So what we're doing is using technology to raise the value that you've got. Now, why is personal brand the key to this? Well, the key is because personal brand is how the human brain works, right? The human brain works in a particular way that it remembers faces. Let's do a quick little experiment. What is the color of the G in the Google logo? Don't check, don't Google it. Now, here's the funny thing. You've seen this logo thousands of times, probably tens of thousands of times. It's always blue, and it's always been blue, and it's always going to be blue, right? Every time you've seen the Google logo, it's been the blue thing. But your brain doesn't remember the things like logos. Your brain remembers faces. So when we look at the faceless football clubs, these are football clubs that have, 100-year histories, and they've got all this background, and people are incredibly loyal to the football club. All the football clubs combined have got 184 million Instagram followers, and one footballer, Cristiano Ronaldo, has 335 million people following, like 150 million more people than all the football clubs combined. That's how much we love people versus brands, right? So we love people. One person can be a much more powerful brand than the entire football clubs combined. Richard Branson has 12 million followers. Virgin only has 250,000 followers. Jessica Alba, 19 million followers. Her company, which is worth billions, The Honest Company, only 1 million followers. Tim Cook took over the reins of Apple in 2011 with 30, and Apple is a most powerful brand in the world. It's 48, 49 years old now. And Tim Cook's been at the helm for about 12 years, 11 years. And he's got 13.4 million followers. Apple's got 7.7 million followers. People care about people. That's the thing that gives you the cut-through brand. You cannot hide behind your product brand or your company brand. People want to know who's the founder. They want to judge the business based on you. I know that's a lot of pressure. I know that kind of sucks, but actually that's the key to success.